right, welcome back to the program. Let's set the agenda for today's first conversation. As advertised, we are going to take a look at security, the status quo, and perhaps help make sense and unpack all the issues. Now, you might have come across this on one of the dailies. The United States government has placed a $7 million bounty. $7 million bounty. Maybe it looks like small money to you, but you put it in Naira, right? In Naira and Kobo, that's roughly 2.5 billion Naira. Guess what they want? They want information that could lead to the capture of the infamous, notorious Boko Haram leader, Abubakar Shekau. And you can obviously deduce why that is necessary. Now, this came as a result of the activities of the group, which has continued to cause the deaths of thousands of Nigerians, as well as the destruction of property since it began way back in 2009. Now, what will this new drive or impetus do to stimulate a sort of an end to the Boko Haram insurgency? And we're wondering if this is something that the Nigerian government needs to take a cue from, and also bringing to an end crime and criminality of not just insurgents but other criminal elements within our society today. You know him? Is Dr. Lionel Rawlins. He is the Assistant Vice President, American University of Nigeria, on safety and security matters. He's looking exceptionally good this Monday morning.
I'm celebrating International Women's Day.
Really?
Really. Which was yesterday. So I dress up nicely for the lady.
Yeah, this is good.
More reason why you have to choose your color carefully.
I don't think he's ever looked this good on the set.
I have some cootie for you. I'll give it to you.
Good to see you. From yellow, gold, whatever color shade of color.
Yeah, this really looks good on you. This really looks good on you.
It looks good.
Good to see.
I know you all beat me to the punchline.
We're just trying to butter you up because you deserve it.
Well done.
Yeah. How was the weekend?
The weekend was good. Again, I celebrated with the Women's Day, and I'm doing my share as a man to support women in their fight against injustice and inequality.
So what were the activity, during that particular, observation?
Well, the security ladies from the security department went to one of the hospitals to deliver a lot of items to patients who would otherwise not be able to get these items. Sure. And it was nice it was their decision and their ideas, and they did a wonderful job dispensing that amongst the needy and the ones who needed it most.
Women have the power to bring people together, and I wish we have more of these activities lined up, because they have a very powerful voice that could bring an end to so many of the issues. But of course, we also have to put hands together to address, like you said, inequality and all the injustice that has been meted out to them, whether by design or by default. Back to our talking point, bounty. It has a very interesting history attached to it. It goes back to centuries and centuries ago, so much so that it stimulates each and every member of the society to say, you know what, now I have an incentive to, take part in this, activity of maybe bringing a lawless criminal. There are no lawful criminals, but, bringing a criminal element, to face the law. How do you react to this $7 million bounty on the head of the most wanted man, I dare say, on the African continent?
Well, your intro talk about bounty. I just want to let people clarify it. Bounty has a bad connotation to it because of the things you see in the movies. Okay. And in the old days, you send out the guys to hunt the bad guys. But bounty it comes from the Latin word bonitas, which means goodness and good. That is why you want a bountiful harvest. You see, you want everything you want to be bountiful is good. And so it is the actual meaning of bounty is they give you something for doing something good for someone. And so it's not a bad thing. So many people see it as a bad thing. But that's why the American government changed it from they don't use the word bounty now. They use it reward. So don't use the word bounty, you must use it as a reward. It sounds more encapsulating. But remember though, this is just old news. In 2013, that bounty or that reward was placed on Sheikh Hau's head back in 2013. And for 7 years it's been there. This is just the government reigniting it to let the people know that
by the way, there's still money on the table.
There's still money on the table. And they're doing it because of the recent amount of violence that Boko Haram is unleashing on the country. They're just, it's their way of telling Nigerians, hey, 7 million, 2 billion is yours in Naira if you can tell us where he is, and we can deal with it from there.
Right. I mean, I guess for people who are locals who have who have 2.5 billion reasons why they should turn him in. Obviously, like you said, 2013 there was the first installment or the announcement about a reward, for that could go to the person who gave credible information that led to the arrest or capture of the dreaded Boko Haram leader. Why should this be any different from what happened back in 2013? It's been 7 years now since the first announcement.
Right.
Why has that failed to do the needful to incentivize his capture on the part of members of the public?
It's not that easy. It's really truly not that easy. People are greedy, and many people will take that $7 million US or 2.1 billion. Many people will take it. And there are many, but
Naira, sorry.
In Naira. So there are three main reasons. One, many people cannot. The people live in the villages and out in the remote areas. If you're not educated, you cannot envision 2.1 billion. It means absolutely nothing to you or to them. But, so that is why now the US government and other governments, when they do that, like in Afghanistan and Iraq, there's a lot of illiterates there too. They will say, we'll give you this money if you want, but if this money is not enough, we'll give you 100 brand new Mercedes-Benz. They can envision that. Or we'll buy you 500 cows. They can envision that, but they cannot envision 7 million American dollars. So the people who are close enough to give the information, it goes over their head. Secondly, the people who can give information on Sheikh Hau are the people in his inner circle. But they believe in his ideology, and they believe in his fight. They believe in his cause. So it's difficult for them to turn him in for that kind of money.
Are we saying it really works in this day and age?
It really works. And the third one is many times, the people live in fear that if I turn him in, is the government able to protect me, my family, and my extended family?
Because there are repercussions.
Exactly. So those are the three main obstacles why people do not come forward with the information.
Now we're going to look at these three critical elements which you've just mentioned, but let me have you react to this in this particular manner, because of the fact that a lot has gone into the fight against insurgency. We've seen a lot of resources deployed both locally and internationally in addressing this issue of insurgency in northeast Nigeria, but with little significant successes recorded to this particular fight against insurgency. How then did the issue of reward come into this particular mix? Is it about the most reliable option for us to be thinking about in addressing this issue of insurgency right about now?
It is one that has worked in the past, but it has worked clearly well with criminals. Do you know the person who murdered this person? There's a reward for you. And people will just, anonymously make a phone call and turn you in. It has worked for criminals and for crime victims, but for the terrorists, it's a little bit more difficult. Look at this. Some terrorists have 25 million. Zawahiri, who is the leader of Al-Qaeda and the second in command to bin Laden, he's still there, and he's still 25 million. On his head. Some people have 1 million. how does it get 25 million and some only get 1 million, or some get like Sheikh House 7? And it's because the governments put the amount according to how much damage you can put on their country. So if you can instill more damage to the United States, your cause, your rate is going to be higher. For example, Zawahiri, he is the one in charge of Al-Qaeda. He can create some damage for either the United States or the United States citizens abroad or the United States interests abroad, plus in the United States. Sheikh can only hurt who is in Africa or who is in Nigeria. He doesn't have the ability to go to the United States and hurt the United States. So his is only 7 million, whereas the other guy is 25 million. But even amongst themselves, terrorists argue and fight among themselves. Why am I only 5 million?
So how about
why am I only 1 million? Why can't I be 15 million?
Yeah.
So they go out and they kill more people and they do more bad things, so that
just to add to their notoriety.
Add to their notoriety. So even amongst criminals and terrorists, there is pride.
Yeah, because we know that Shekau has been rated as the most deadly terrorist in Africa right about now. He's number one.
He should be 20 million
on the terrorist rating and all of that. How about those from this particular school of thought who feel that the U.S. should not be talking about placing a reward on our worker Shekau, but also collaborate with the Nigerian government to see to an end this issue of insurgency? We should see practical effort on ground to say we are working strongly with this government to end insurgency in this region. What about that?
Well, it's true. It's just not money alone. Money alone is all-encompassing. You got to use everything. And right now, your friend Trump has decided to send some other kind of help to Nigeria, in the form of some real, should I say, specialized training, so that the military will pick up these ideas from the Americans and take it to Shekau, and he's going to make Shekau back off a little, or he's going to come out and do more damage just to show he's not going away.
I mean, they say everything has a price, isn't it? And I just want to know, does upping the percentage makes it difficult for someone like Shekau to move about when he knows that there's a bounty on him, there's a reward for his capture or something like that? Does this send any sort of message to the terrorist that has been marked in this regard? Does it make him, move less? Does it make him, doubt the people he's working with?
That's a very good question. Yes. Imagine there is a bounty or reward on your head. You cannot sleep well at nights, because it is you always wonder which one of my age who's closest to me is going to turn me in or shoot me in the back to take over. So what do? They keep moving from place to place. I'll guarantee you, Shekau has about 50 different places that he goes to in the Sambisa. He's not here for 2 and 3 days. He may spend 24 hours here and then move to another place and spend maybe 2 days there, then move to another place, and only a certain amount of people know where he's going and what he's doing. And that is how people who are on the run lives. It's a terrible way to live. You cannot settle down and there's no rest. So when these guys hear that there's a bounty on the head, it is incredibly upsetting for them and nerve-wracking, because you would know. It
makes them second guess everything they do.
Everything, even the people who are around them, you do not know which one to trust, and you wouldn't either. He doesn't either.
But how do we make it count more? Because right about now, the placement of a reward on the capture of Abubakar Shekau is mostly seen within spaces that are not even close to where Shekau is or where Shekau operates. He operates in an island of his own, in a world of his own.
Exactly.
So how do we get the message and make it a little bit emphatic to have that needed bite for it to, stop this.
Do they read the papers? Do they know that there's a report out
do
there?
they even know that?
They know. Some know. Some don't understand what it is.
Right.
The intelligent people, they understand and they know. But the majority of people who are around Sheikhout doesn't even understand it, and don't even know what it is, and don't even know if they will get it, and don't even know, in the first instance, how to get that information to the Nigerian government or the U.S. government.
Right.
So they're in the dark, and they hear about it, but it means absolutely nothing to them.
I mean, that brings me to the question: how do you communicate any sort of credible information to the United States that may lead to the capture or otherwise of a leader of a deadly group like Sheikhout, for instance? How do you do that?
There's an email address. If you go to the United States Department of Defense or State Department, there's an email address, and they will tell you clearly who these people are that there's a bounty for, and they will explain to you how to do it. But you use a name, whatever you want to use, a pseudonym, a fake name, and I would suggest you do that just in case.
Just to be safe.
Just in case. And then you say where you're from, and that you have knowledge and information on the whereabouts of whomever. Somebody will contact you, and they will get you from wherever you are to the closest embassy, and then the embassy, they will take it from there.
Right.
And then
I want to know about what non-state actors, mercenaries for instance, could do to cash in on this big check that is $7 million. Would you say that, during the course of history that we've had rewards like this, and people would say, okay, you know what, I have the expertise, I have the capacity, I have the information, I know the terrain, I'll just mobilize a couple of people and then get this guy and get this reward? Do you think that this could open that channel where you have non-state actors who could say, you know, we're going to take this challenge and see if we can get the reward?
Exactly. It's a good question again. Mercenaries or soldiers of fortune, as we call them, they don't care who they go after, who they kill, as long as you pay them. They will be the ones to go after people like Sheikhout. And there are many mercenaries out there, or soldiers of fortune, who can do it. The problem is your government will not let them in. And you can't come unless they come through the border and go in the dark, go on.
Very dangerous too,
because
the
then
would see them as a threat.
Of course, because you're bringing in weapons, and we don't know who you are. You're some white man from South Africa, or from the United States, or from Russia. The Israelis could take him out. These people are well trained, and they know what to do. But how can they come to your country, bringing in weapons with them, unless they come through the borders? And then if the soldiers see some white people with weapons and guns and equipment, then a bloody war starts right there.
Do you think it's
collaboration?
Do you think it's even possible that a government would consider allowing mercenaries to operate within its territory? Do you think it's
of course, it's an option that many governments have considered. A lot of governments turned a blind eye to it. It's going on, but
we're not going to enable you. We're just going to pretend as if you don't exist.
Exactly, and they are really helpful in many ways. The problem with mercenaries and soldiers of fortune, as some of us call them, is sometimes they can turn on you.
Right.
Okay.
They'll do anything for the money.
They'll do anything for the money, and somebody can hire them. Wait a minute, you clean up that mess so well. Why don't I hire you to do this? So it brings with it a lot of fear and a lot of questions to be asked by the government.
It's good to make mention of the word fear, because for me it's one word that, practically describes the situation here in Nigeria, particularly in regions where the issue of insurgency is taking place. There is heightened fear. Before now, no one speaks about the name of Boko Sheikhout, because as like the mention of that name, it's the beginning of something else. Today we can slightly say it, but the fear is still eminent in the hearts of a lot of people. Now, how do you think this open check that is out there can be easily cashed in an atmosphere of fear, and people are mostly illiterate?
That's that's another good question. You guys are on the ball today. You know, look, because that is one of the things that the U.S. government and governments all over the world, that's one of the most difficult things for them to do. You have to go to the people, and you've got to develop a certain amount of trust so that they can trust you, because, and it's not going to happen in a week or a month, not even in 6 months. It takes some years of grooming those people and let them know, I am your friend and I will protect you. You keep letting them know, if things go bad, I will take you to the United States, you and your entire family, and they have to believe it.
Okay.
That if they don't believe that you can do that, then you have nothing. You also have to, on the other side, wonder if they're going to Sheikhow and telling Sheikhow, hey, these people are asking me information about you, and they turn and they tell Sheikhow where you are, what hotel you're in, what house you live in. So it is a two-way street. I need to trust you, and you need to trust me. But this doesn't happen overnight.
What about the issue of inner circle? Because you talked about the inner circle is very critical here, where you second guess practically everything that everyone does around you. You're afraid, and you don't want someone to be an easy, quick sellout, of you in this particular regards that we're speaking to. How do you think we can easily cash in? Because already there's a faction to Boko Haram. We have ISWAP, which is a faction to the first Boko Haram that sprang up here in Nigeria, and we've seen crisis within the ranks. How do you think, if ISWAP, for instance, is stimulated, can work to make this a success?
Well, not a good question, sir, because it probably is going on now. Because these guys figure, wait a minute, we can get 2.1 billion, and I know exactly where Sheikhow is. Why don't we go get him and turn him over to the U.S. government? And Sheikhow is also thinking that, because the new leader of ISWAP, he has to, well, like all leaders, when you become a leader, and the other one goes, you take over.
You take out the competition.
Exactly. Yeah. And you must establish who you are. Right. You must establish your vision and what you want to do.
Yeah, well, my question
and one of the vision would be, that's why he exterminated all of those leaders who are there. He's establishing who he is and saying, I'm not taking any mess from anybody.
Okay, just a quick question, because we're out of time.
Yes.
Does this reward come with preconditions? Can a terrorist cash in on this reward? Because surely there has to be some sort of mechanism that has been put in place to ensure that we're not giving another bad guy these funds to continue doing something bad. Like, say for instance, when you give credible information, are there no checks to ensure that we're giving the good guy this reward?
You're thinking like a criminal. Yes, right. He can cash in on it because the preconditions are different. The precondition would be, if you're a soldier and you're out there patrolling and you saw Sheikhow and you came back and you said, I saw him, you wouldn't get a dime, because it's your job. Right. It's your job. That's what you should be doing. But if you or I saw Sheikhow at a mosque or in a party and we call somebody, then the money comes to us. So yes, if the leader of ISWAP wants to make some money, he can turn in Sheikhow and get that money, you collect the money, and the government will not care.
Regardless of
they will, of course.
Wow. But I know,
but you know, he will not turn it in.
There's going to be an eye on how that's seen.
He will not come and say, I am Balawan, I'm the leader of ISWAP, here is Sheikhow. He will not do it. He will give it to you, so you can turn it into him, and you collect the money and give it to him.
All right.
Interesting times.
Through the back door.
Let's see how this one pans out, because we're a long way from any of the fantasies that we imagine. But like you did say, it has worked before. Let's see whether it will work this time around. Doctor, as always,
where's you Tunde? I miss her.
Great to see you. She's backstage. Yeah, having a great time outside there.
And when you're done, you can easily catch up and
I'm very sure she misses you too.